So one of the like biggest takeaways for me as an individual with this is just seeing how let me back up a little bit. So last week in church, I was really, I'm not gonna say I was happy, but I was happy, thankful towards the end because I was supposed to preach and then they changed it at the last minute. And it was really great because the pastor who came in um wound up talking about giving a sermon about he spoke about David, but it was about actually it wasn't David, it was Saul, Samuel, David around that era. So about First Samuel. But one of the things that he focused on was, just really being a man. And a lot of times we talk about the things being a woman in here because the majority of us are women. We have men that'll pop up every so often, but for the most part, we're women. But we are also women who deal with men, right? And so yeah, for the most part, right? And so no assumptions, but for the most part. And so the thing about it is that we don't realize how much um men just go through things. And so one of the things that I appreciated from this these last few chapters was just seeing, I'm not going to say how men think because we don't know how they think, but we have been able to kind of explore the word from a different perspective. Like we have been able to look at David and say, yeah, he might have been a good warrior, but David might not have been the most attentive father. You know, David might have had issues when it came to women, but we also had the opportunity to kind of look back and just reflect on why that might have been. And sometimes we don't do that when it comes to men. We just, I'm not going to say we worry about us, but we worry about them, we worry about our kids, we worry about everything that we have going on, but it's still centered around what we need them to do, not really who they are as an individual. Right. And so I like that we had an opportunity to just kind of see David as this individual because of the way we look at things, through this Bible study. And so I was really happy to see that. Seeing Joab, I don't know about anybody else, but I don't know if you could ever relate to your man of the men in your life, or maybe the people that they might hang around, just having this influence on them. And that they're not good. Like, that, I don't think you need to be around them. And so when Amber brought up the part about Joab, even though this has been a person who's kind of been his ride or die, but yet and still this is a person who would even kill your son. You just don't know it, and just when we think about the people that we have or they have in their lives, but understanding that he had Joab in his life for a particular focus, for a particular reason and a particular purpose. And sometimes they can be, just, I'm going to say it in such a nice way, but purpose driven. Right? Let's say it in a really nice way, purpose driven, where we might see things, at a macro level, like we see everything that might need to be done or how this affects everyone. They might see things on a micro level. You're focused on this, and trying to capture that. And so, just I've been thinking just a lot about that because men don't necessarily express themselves in a way that we do. My husband and I had that discussion the other day, where he's been in certain arenas now where it seems like men are kind of getting together and they're talking a little bit more. And although he don't really share with me what's being said, he did at least share the part with me that he said, like, we don't really do this, like women are good because they have this. And he said something that was so profound. He said, they rally around each other. And, sometimes men don't really have people who necessarily rally around, I think about, I work with people who lose spouses a lot of times, and people might rally around the women in some cases, but nobody's necessarily rallying around the men. And sometimes even if women come to the aid of the man, it's to be with him. It's like, okay, one person's out the way and now I have opportunity. And so just imagine for a second what it's like to just be going through and trying to figure it out and not be able to express. And then even when you are expressing yourself, you have somebody who tries to like get you out of it, snap you out of it. And so even when David would be in a position to where he would express himself over his son's death, somebody snapping him out of it. And so it's just something for us to kind of consider. So we did go through, since that happened, the revolt of Sheba, and just seeing how things were. We saw that David had avenged the Gibeonites, and last week we pretty much just talked about how this was something from old. This was almost like an old debt that wasn't settled. And so therefore, since it wasn't settled, I think, if I'm not mistaken, we kind of talked a little bit about how there are some things, some promises, some things that are made to God that we still have to deal with, and some of our sufferings might be because of that time. So David was able to settle that score. So now where we are, we're in 2 Samuel 22, and in 2 Samuel 22, I loved it, and I had to go back to it a couple times throughout this week, is David's song of praise. And what I loved about this, because initially I think last week I said, I'm not sure if we really have a need to go there. I was like, maybe we don't necessarily have to, how do you say, like, review that. I could just tell people to go ahead and read it, but we read everything else. So why would I go ahead and skip the song of praise? And I thought that it was a good time to really just sit back after we read it and just really reflect on who God is. And not only that, even remembering who David is, because the thing about David is that David, I don't know about you, but I think throughout this journey and looking at him, I completely disregarded the fact that David was also a psalmist. That David wrote the Psalms, that David was really poetic, that David, although may not have been able to express himself with his children, but it's like, did you forget who David was? And maybe that wasn't who he was in front of other people, because at no point in all of this do we see, throughout 1st or 2nd Samuel, where we saw, David go to decide and write them. But as we move forward to like reading through the Psalms, depending on what version you read, it'll say at the top, this is when he wrote that. And so just to think about the fact that David went into that quiet place and, just poured his heart out to the Lord, I just think that we needed this reminder. And so I'm going to go ahead and read 2 Samuel 22, and we're just going to talk about it. Does anybody have anything to say about what I said before I go into reading this?
I just asked a question in the chat. He played the harp for Saul, right?
Yes, he did.
Okay. I remember we read about that.
Yes, he did. But, and look, even when you put that, I forgot about that.
Yep.
You just said it. I forgot about that. And so I'm gonna try to hold on to what I have to say. I want to get to the reading, but no, I'm gonna say it because I might forget. I think it's something to see. I knew that this would be like a really reflective day, because a lot of us have these giftings that the Lord gives us, but we get so caught up in things. Not just do people forget who we are, but we can forget who we are. And we can forget our gifts. And it's just the things that bring us joy, and it might be even the things that got us here, right? To this place where we are. And so I just thought that was beautiful. But um let me start at verse 1. So David sang the song to the Lord on the day the Lord rescued him from all his enemies and from Saul. He sang, "The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my savior. My God is my rock in whom I find protection. He is my shield, the power that saves me, and my place of safety. He is my refuge, my savior, the one who saves me from violence. I called on the Lord who is worthy of praise, and he saved me from my enemies. The waves of death overwhelmed me. Floods of destruction swept over me. The grave wrapped its ropes around me. Death laid a trap in my path. But in my distress, I called out to the Lord. Yes, I cried to my God for help. He heard me from his sanctuary, and my tears reached my cry reached his ears. Then the earth quaked and trembled. The foundations of the heavens shook. They quaked because of his anger. Smoke poured from his nostrils. Fierce flames leaped from his mouth. Glowing coals blazed from him. He opened the heavens and came down. Dark storm clouds were beneath his feet. Mounted on a mighty angelic being, he flew, soaring on the wings of the wind. He shrouded himself in darkness, veiling his approach with dense rain clouds. A great brightness shone around him, and burning coals blazed forth. The Lord thundered from heaven. The voice of the Most High resounded. He shot arrows and scattered his enemies. His lightning flashed, and they were confused. Then, at the command of the Lord, at the blast of his breath, the bottom of the sea could be seen, and the foundations of the earth were laid bare. He reached down from heaven and rescued me. He drew me out of deep waters. He rescued me from my powerful enemies, from those who hated me and were too strong for me. They attacked me at the moment when I was in distress. But the Lord supported me. He led me to a place of safety. He rescued me because he delights in me. The Lord rewarded me for doing right. He restored me because of my innocence. For I have kept the ways of the Lord. I have not turned from my God to follow evil. I have followed all his regulations. I have never abandoned his decrees. I am blameless before God. I have kept myself from sin. The Lord rewarded me for doing right. He has seen my innocence. To the faithful, you show yourself faithful. To those with integrity, you show yourself integrity. To the pure, you show yourself pure. But to the crooked, you show yourself shrewd. You rescue the humble, but your eyes watch the proud and humiliate them. O Lord, you are my lamp. The Lord shines up my darkness. In your strength, I can crush an army. With my God, I can scale any wall. God's way is perfect. All the Lord's promises prove true. He is a shield for all who look to him for protection. For who is God except the Lord? But but our God is a solid rock. God is my strong fortress, and he makes my way perfect. He makes me as sure-footed as a deer, enabling me to stand on mountain heights. He trains my hands for battle. He strengthens my arm to draw a bronze bow. You have given me your shield of victory. Your help has made me great. You have made a wide path for my feet to keep them from slipping. I chased my enemies and destroyed them. I did not stop until they were conquered. I consumed them. I struck them down so they did not get up. They fell beneath my feet. You have armed me with the strength for the battle. You have subdued my enemies under my feet. You placed my foot on their necks. I have destroyed all who hate me. They looked for help, but no one came to their rescue. They even cried to the Lord, but he refused to answer. I ground them as fine as the dust in the earth. I trampled them in the gutter like dirt. You gave me victory over my accusers. You persevered me as the ruler over nations. People I don't know now serve me. Foreign nations cringe before me. As soon as they hear of me, they submit. They all lose their courage and come trembling from their strongholds. The Lord lives. Praise to my rock. May God, the rock of my salvation, be exalted. He is the God who pays back those who harm me. He brings down the nations under me and delivers me from my enemies. You hold me safe beyond the reach of my enemies. You save me from violent opponents. For this, O Lord, I will praise you among the nations. I will sing praises to your name. You give great victories to your king. You show unfailing love to your anointed, to David and all his descendants forever. Ah, Lord, I thank you for this reading of your word. And so I pray that this word gets to us. This is probably one of the first times or a few times, because I can't remember, that we just kind of like took a break just from the story. Just took a break from the story, and just to really just see who God is, not just trying to figure it out, but David is telling us who he is to him. David, in his own words, is explaining, how he views God based on what it is that he has gone through. And so, by any chance, does anybody have anything that stood out to them, or anything that they want to share about reading that particular chapter? That particular chapter.
I just always want to hear the songs. Like I want the melody. I want the like, because when I think about the words and how powerful it was to hear you read it and to read it, I can only imagine if you think about the 90s R&B songs and the old 90s R&B songs in the rain, when they just had those moments of like giving their soul to the music. I always just wonder about that, like the hymn and how it actually sounded with music. So that was one of the things. And just another one, just him just kind of putting it all out there. Like you said, it's one of the first time we took a break from the story, but David is going through a lot. So it's that appreciation, it's that pain, it's that all of it. He kind of seemed like he was on this emotional roller coaster. So that's kind of what stuck out to me. So yeah.
And I love what you said, is like he went through a lot, right? And when we were going through his story, we just always saw where he called on the Lord. And sometimes when people do that, you wonder where they get their strength. But when he has a view of the Lord in the way that he do, you understand why he feels so comfortable calling on him. We'd be surprised at how some people view the Lord. Like, some people really are intimidated by him. Some people really feel like he's too grand of a person or being for me to bother with. Some people are afraid of the Lord. It all depends on what we believe as an individual. And so for us to go through and see what separated David as a great king, as a warrior, and just to see that his strength came in because of how he viewed God. That's why he had the strength that he had, because of how he viewed everything, how he even viewed himself. The part where he just talked about, how he was innocent and things of that nature. And I'm just sitting here like, okay, okay, that's how he view it, but that's how he views it. Like, that's how he views himself. And who are we to take? Because like he said, but the Lord sees his innocence. whereas some of us, we get so consumed by what we're not doing and what we need to get rid of. And then that tends to allow us to separate ourselves from the Lord, at least in our minds, because, God is not separating himself from us, but even the way he looked at himself throughout everything, and to say, like, I'm not sinning, like I'm not doing this. And it's not a thing about being in La La Land, but him knowing that I do my best, even if it's not the best, I know that I do my best. And that the Lord is looking at me innocently, and plus we didn't hear of him continuously doing things, and so just the view that he had of the Lord, I mean, it makes you, it lets you know why he was considered like a God after, a man after God's own heart. So yes, Joy.
Oh, you see me? I don't know but I did want to say something. I was listening to that. I'm not like, I have nights and days like he had, and when I listened to that, that really was like, it really touched me. Just to to listen to it, like you said, with all that he went through, and then for him to give God praise, and that's some days I have nights like that. You think about the bad and the terrible things that you went through, and some days I lay down at night and I just bring it to the Lord and tell him all the things he did for me and how much he kept me, and even the things that I did, that he still, no matter what, he still forgave me, and he still blesses us. And I just, some days I have those days, and I do think, and when I heard that, that was just so touching to me. That really blessed me, was that. And then when you read it again, I read it, but then when you read it again, every time I hear it, it blesses you.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
Amen. Absolutely. And some of the, oh yes, Miss Rhonda.
No, you can finish your thought because I don't want to cut you off, Nicole.
No, it's cool.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciated you giving that perspective, because just as Joy just said, as you were reading it, and then I listened to the part where he said he's blameless and he was innocent. I like had a, well, I think it was a couple of things, but then when you just framed it, I thought about the fact that even when people brought it to his attention, he repented, and he accepted, I'll say the criticism. He accepted it and he dealt with it. Like, he either went before the Lord, the times when when it talks about him renting his clothes, he really repented. And so in that sense, yes, he was, and then he did truly follow God's way. Like, when it was pointed out, I think many times we think we're doing the right thing, but then we find out we're not. And then, but with him, when he found out he wasn't, he repented. And so I thank you for sharing that perspective on that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I'm happy that you saw it that way too. And because we can really get caught up in a lot of negative thought, right? And like we hear a lot of things now, about positive self-talk and things of that nature, but we don't realize like how really important it is. The Bible says things like, as a man thinketh, so is he. And, I mean, it couldn't be applied however you want it to be applied. But I always like to think, well, wherever your head go, your body's going to follow, and so if you are thinking down, then you are going to feel down. If you think up, or you think it's going to be a good day, you get up. I remember when I lived in the Bronx, and we lived in this horrible building, and not going to get into no long story about it, but I remember this one girl, every time it was like her check day, because she looked like our circumstance. Like it was just it was just bad. Like it was a horrible neighborhood. I think everybody there was just in not the greatest of situations. It was just really not a great place to live. And so she looked really unkept, right? And I remember her saying that on check day, she says she gets up, she gets dressed, and she gets herself together, right? And I don't, and I'll never forget that. And that was because, you know, she was happy, she had something to look forward to. And so her mood went up with that. And I guess, you know, when you have just this one time a month to get money, you know, yeah, you can feel like you're in despair or feel down and out, you know, but obviously because of the situation being down, she allowed that to take her down, you know, and everything followed the way she looked, the way she thought, everything else. But when things seem at least hopeful this one time a month, then you see that everything else got positive right along with it. And so sometimes we do need to get ourselves into a place where we just, you know, just really, when we say just to really focus on the goodness of the Lord, you know, and even within your own self, to not say, you know, well, I'm just this person or I'm just that person. We have to really, really get into this place where we say, no, well, I know who I am in the Lord, you know, or like Miss Rhonda just pointed out, yeah, I might do things, but I repent. And that's a great quality of me, you know, and it's not to be boastful, it's not to be haughty or anything like that, but just to even see the growth that's inside of you that has come, you know, that has come before the Lord. It's like it's something that'll get you going every time. So that way when things happen or you make bad choices, you don't just feel completely bad about yourself. You get up, you know, and you say, all right, I'm gonna be all right. You know, I do things like, you know, I got a potty mouth at times, and my kids will point it out to me, and I tell them, well, I'm not going to hell because of it. You know, like I'm just not, like, you're not gonna sit here and make me feel bad, you know, like I'm not going to hell because of it. And ever since I said that, you know, I mean, I really mean that. Like, I'm not going to hell because of it. So if you think that saying it now does it convict me a little bit? Yes. And, you know, does it make me say, you're not setting the best example? You got to get it together. You can be better than that. Yes. You know, but even there, I don't make me feel like I'm just no good. You know, I don't have nothing to say, or, you know, no, I still know that it's going to get better. You know, it's absolutely going to get better. You know, the things that I struggle with, it's just going to get better. When I look back at my life, I just sat here and told you about a place where I was in, and it was like, it was just depressing there. And when I tell you it was depressing, it was not your regular run of the mill bad neighborhood. We dealt with things. My neighbor upstairs was murdered. You know, my good friend, she was murdered by my other good friend, you know, right upstairs from me. You know, I remember when somebody got evicted on our floor, they came back and set the apartment on fire. Okay, you know, set the apartment on fire because they got, and I'm like, the landlord don't even live here. You trying to burn us down? We didn't evict you, you know, like, why would you do that to us? You know, the person who saved me and got me and my children out of the apartment is the one who killed my girlfriend, you know? And so it was just like a really crazy time in our life, but I survived it and it's behind me. You know, like I'm not there anymore. And I'm like, you know, Jocelyn Hernandez, when she said, I love Jocelyn when she said, you can't send me back to the strip club because I ain't never going back. And she meant that, like, you can't send me back to where I used to be. You can't do that because I have the Lord. I always had him, but I know him now, right? And so no matter what it is that I'm going through, I think positive. I might feel a little down at times. I do, but you know, just focusing on the Lord, just coming back, getting in his word, you know, just reading things like this, just remind me, you know, listen, get it together. Don't forget who you are and whose you are. And I know that that's like a cliche thing, but truly. And that's what we see that David did. We see by example, David went through some stuff. He lost 3 of his sons, 3 children. He did some things, but he got it together. And this was his focus. This is how he did it with this mindset. Sorry, anybody else?
Look, now I gotta go back and read it. Cause I'm like, now we got that. Sorry, that's
It's
out
okay.
here.
We ain't nothing.
I'm like, now we got that mindset like that. I need to go back and read that now. Because it makes you see it a little differently, instead of it being someone who, like I said earlier, he went through a lot, this emotional roller coaster. It's more now of, like you said, it's that triumphant, like, I've been there, but you kept me standing,
Mhm.
So yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Reading some of the commentary, if you read some of the commentary just on that, just break some of these verses down, it will just show you, like, just when, even like you said, you don't even have to read it. Everybody has their own commentary, right? So even like Amber said, if I go back and I just read it, but reading it just line by line and just seeing like the magnitude of what it means. But I do want to incorporate something. This was I thought about this week, and it was something that I've been wanting to do anyway, but I think this is a really appropriate time. So in the Bible study, we have what scripture we read for the week, right? And I know that for many of us, we read beyond, for some of us, we might only read what we have this week, but it's okay. But one of the things, there are two things that I want to do. The first thing that I want us to do is, three things, I guess. The first thing is continue for us to study our chapter for the week. Okay, that's something that I want us to continue to do. The next thing that I want us to do is I want us to start every day, commit to reading a psalm. Every day, I want us to commit to reading a psalm. Every day, I want us to commit to reading a psalm. And I know I keep repeating myself, but every day, I want us to commit to reading a psalm. If you guys need for us, well, Carla, if this is too much for you, please let me know, because then I will do it. But I need people to hold me accountable. But if you need us to even send the psalm, there's two ways that we could do. We could just send it, in a text, if you want to get just a text message, so that way you have it. Or if everybody would, we have the Bible app, and that holds everyone accountable. If everybody just was like my friend, and then I couldn't share the plan. And so every day we would just read the psalm. You could just open up the app, and that's what you read for the day, and we hold each other accountable. And so that's one thing that I want us to do, is read one psalm every day and just take time with that psalm. That's that second thing, I guess. So the last thing, which I want us to incorporate this next month, is every day I want us to read a proverb, because there's 31 proverbs, right? And so every day I want us to read a proverb. If you get to a month where it is only 30 days in a month, then you could either read the 31st, or you could read that 2 on the 1st, but you're going to read 2. But every single day, I want us to incorporate it. So first, let's start with the Psalms. And then on the 1st of October, we're going to read it, and we're going to do that repeatedly. So in October, you're going to read a proverb every day. November, you're going to read one of the proverbs every day. And so there's nothing wrong with us going. And then this way, we are really getting those proverbs and those psalms in our heart, in addition to everything else that we are reading. And so that way we can have those things. I'm not saying commit it to memory. I'm not giving us any kind of, I'm not saying give us any kind of, assignment like that, but really start remembering who God is, remembering the goodness of God, focusing on him and bringing it back to our life. How do you like that?
Amen. That's what my spiritual mom, she been getting after me with that. She keeps on me. I've been doing that for like almost a year, reading and like you said, it goes with the month. Like every time with the first of the month, it goes like it has. Just yeah. So yeah, I've been doing that, and it's thank God. Yeah. So that's great. That's confirmation right there.
Okay, absolutely. Amen. I love it. I love it. Miss Punter, did you have something to say?
No, baby.
Huh?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. All right. So, yes, so that's what we will start doing. And like I said, we can do it one or two ways, and you could put in a chat which way you think is best, whether it's to send, send it out every day, or to send it out every day, in which we could actually do either a group me, or everybody could just subscribe to the Bible app, so you don't have to worry about, if you're funny about getting text. But we only going to do one thing. We ain't doing both. So, because that's just a lot to probably keep up with. But that's something that I think is really important to incorporate. Any other thoughts?
So the Bible app, we can subscribe to like a little group chat thing,
Yeah.
or how would that work?
Yeah, so on the Bible app, and I'm gonna open it now. So on the Bible app, you can and for those who don't have it, I can actually put the link in the chat. So with the Bible app, you can like be my friend or whatever. And if we're friends, I can do like a reading plan. And so when I do the reading plan, let's just say that our reading plan is the whole book of Psalms, or, when we get to it, the book of Proverbs. Well, I can invite people to do it. And what it'll do is it'll show us who read it for that day, who completed it for that day. And so then that way you're not, getting text. You're not getting anything like that. It doesn't put that onus on anybody in particular, and it just holds us all, accountable. One of the things I like I do and don't like about the Bible app, let me just say that. I used to like the Bible app better before it started taking account of how much you're reading. Because I remember being on a real long streak, probably like 200 and something days of reading the Bible every day through the app. And then I lost one day, and it just killed me, I hated that, but it is good. Excuse me. It did feel good while I saw the numbers going up, but it just felt like a little bit of a defeat to have to start over. That's the one thing I didn't like about it. And so I just want to say, be kind to yourself. Don't let stuff like that get to you. If you forget something, you could always just catch back up the next day.
Nicole,
Yes.
oh, same thing about the Bible app. And when it first started telling me, like, when it, would go, would it start over? Because, stuff happens, and sometimes I would forget to, go in there and I do my morning devotional with the Bible app.
Mm-hmm.
But if I missed a morning or whatever, it would start me all over. So now I don't even look at it. I press the X. I don't even want to see how many days I have been doing it, or if you started me over, because at first it was a real letdown after the first time it started me over. I was so upset.
Mm-hmm. That's how I felt. I didn't like it. That was a feature that I just kind of wish I could have like wrote them and told them to take it off, but I just want us, that's why I'm just telling everybody, let's not get caught up, because those are those things, right, that can hold us back. And so I just want to encourage everybody to not allow that to happen to you, because it happened to me. And like Carla shared, it happened to her. And so it can make you feel like that, but we're just going to take take a page from David's book, and just definitely do this thing. And
Nicole,
yes,
is that you version that you're talking about?
yes.
Is
Mm-hmm.
that what you read, and then those little sparkly things jump up out of the, like, not like, it's like some almost like confetti, like you've completed.
Yes.
I was saying, yeah, that, because that's what I'm on too, the U version.
Yes.
That is something that I didn't like either, that right there. Because when I fall off, it'll remind me, or it'll be like, hey, we are, like but like you said, the numbers don't matter if you just jump in and read or what have you.
Mm-hmm. Look, it's funny that God just has just a way of just helping us out before we even know we need it, because we talked about encouragement. We talked about no matter what happened, we talked about the mindset that David had. And, and I guess the Lord was just preparing us because he knew, that we would get to kind of like this place. So I do encourage everybody. I'm on my desktop, and so it's not letting me share it the way I would want to share it, but I'm going to try to put this in the chat, and I just want to see if you hit it, maybe that hopefully could bring you to the app. I hope, but if not, it is the YouVersion app on your smartphone, on your phone. So I don't know if you either have Google and you get it on the Play Store or the App Store for Apple. And so that's something that I want us to do moving forward. So for the most part, is everybody in agreement with it? If you're not, I'm not asking you just because I want your compliance, but so that I won't bother you with it. Because one thing I don't want to do is press somebody or bother somebody beyond what it is that they are willing to do.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I think that'll be good for me. I just wanted to see a picture of the app, but I do have it. When I clicked on the link, it took me to the site and I could see it just to make sure that I had the right one on my phone.
Okay.
But yeah, I like that because we get busy. So for me, I am a notifications person, so I would appreciate it.
Yep. And if you can friend me on there, there's the friend, let me go to it. There is I'm Dr. Nicole and Dr. Nicole Holden. And there's if you press like your name, there's a little thing that say like friends, and then you can add your friends. So let me go back. So this is what it looks like. This is like my home screen. So I'm not sure if everybody could see it. And then I clicked on my name, like that was in the corner. So let me just do it again. Home. And hold on, somebody is coming in. And then when I click on my name, it has a little icon that says friends. And then it tells you can go ahead and you can add your friends. And so you could put a person's name or email, or you can invite your friends to join you. Actually, what I'm gonna do, let me see. I think I might be able to
send invites.
Yeah, I think I'm going to send another link in here, and I think this link that I'm getting ready to put in a chat, I think, well, let me see. How can I do this? Because I forget that I'm not on my, it's translating a little differently when I go to my desktop.
Yeah, I found you.
You found me?
Yeah, like you said, when you click on friends and you hit the little magnifying glass in the corner, I literally just put your first and last name, and a whole bunch of people popped up, but I know your picture.
Okay. And if you could find me on there, Nicole M. Holden. And then when I get on my cell phone, if anybody have an issue, then I can, or you could just tell me and then I'll just send it to you from my cell phone. Because I can't send it that way on here. And, we just hold each other, support each other through this. I'll say that. I don't want to say hold each other's hand, but definitely support each other through this, because that's something that is really on my heart. And like Joy said, even from where she is, someone has even encouraged her to do that. So when things like that happen, it just might be a need that's in the atmosphere. So remember, we are going to do what? What are we going to do every week?
I can't find you.
You can't find me?
That's
All
weird.
right. I could go ahead and send it to you. Hold on.
3 different numbers for you. Wait.
It's the 917 number. I got your request, your friendship thing, Amber.
Okay. Trying to find a decent picture to put on myself.
Yeah.
This is a Bible app, so I'm trying
All right.
to find.
Okay, Katrina, I'm sending you a text with it. Okay. I don't know if that was mine. I'll figure it out. But anyway, so what are we gonna do once a week? Continue to do?
Read one psalm, right?
Well,
And
once a
then
week.
Proverbs.
And a proverb.
Yes, so we're gonna continue to read our scripture for the once a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every day we're gonna read a psalm, and we'll start with Psalm 1. And I will look up to see if there is you might get an invite from me if everybody go ahead and friend me. Then we'll go ahead and I'll see if there's a plan, because usually they have them by plans. Then I can invite you to the plan. And then on the 1st, and you can start from today, it doesn't matter, but definitely by the 1st of October, we're going to start incorporating a proverb for every day. So if you want to start today, read Proverbs 6, and then tomorrow read Proverbs 7, and then the next day on Friday read Proverbs 8, and then on Saturday read Proverbs 9, and on Sunday read Proverbs 10. And so you're going to do one proverb for every day of the month. But if you need to start off slow, we could incorporate that in October. But starting from today, we're gonna start reading, or maybe tomorrow morning we'll start reading from Psalm 1. And that we're gonna add that when we come into Bible study. If anybody wants to share a psalm that they read that week that stood out to them, because you know how we usually kind of like do a recap. You can either do a recap, or if you wanted to share one of the songs that you read for the week, that or something that was dear to you or that helped you or whatever, then you can also share that at that time. All right, how does that sound?
Sounds good.
Fine to me.
Did you say a psalm a week or a psalm a day?
A psalm a day, but when we come
Okay.
back, when we come back on when we come back, on Wednesdays, we could share whichever psalm for that week. If anybody has something to share that they read that week that might have touched them, we could, bring it together and share it on that day. Does that sound okay? Not too did I complicate it? Did I confuse
No, that
anybody?
sounds-
No.
Well, I'm
I-
gonna talk
I
to you probably afterwards because I think I missed that. I'm not sure that thing about the group or whatever. I'm
The
gonna
thing
need to
about the
get
what? I'm sorry.
something about the group and being friends on the one that shows you how many days you did it.
the app.
Yes, so the app on the
Like
Bible
the
app,
app.
on the Bible app, if we are friends on the Bible app, if we're friends on the Bible app, then I can invite you to a reading plan. And so that way we just, everybody will have what they're going to read for that day, right?
Okay.
Only thing that we were
Mhm.
saying about not what we were saying about not being about it counting your days is don't let that discourage you, because what happens if you miss a day, the Bible app kind of counts the days that you read,
Right.
and that could be discouraging for some
And if
people.
the Bible,
Huh?
right. But the Bible app, how do I know I got the right one? What color is the, I need to see it.
I could send it to you. But it says U version. Let me show you on my desktop. Hold on. So if you see, when you go to your app store, remember I'm not on the app store, so you might not be able to see it. But do you see this little Holy Bible sign? This
That
little
brown,
brown Bible with the little
Now I
red
get all my
ribbon.
man.
uh-huh.
That's how you know that you got the right app.
Well, I have that on my phone already.
Okay, that's fine. So we could connect as friends on there.
Okay, I'll check it later because I'm traveling right now. So,
Okay, so we could connect as friends on there. One more thing tonight is communion night for anybody who's gonna take communion. But one of the other things that I wanted to share with everybody before we go, y'all know I do not ask a lot. I don't think I ask a lot for anything, but I'm going to ask for something tonight. I'm asking for whoever can support physically. I am putting on a workshop, and I am proud. I am happy. I am thankful. I'm proud of myself because got a lot of stuff going on in my head and I'm not able to always execute everything. But this is just a preliminary what do you call a flyer. I'm still working on some of it. But on Saturday, October 7th, at the Learning How Development Center on Edison Highway, for those of you who are local, I'm having a workshop called Stranded, okay? And I would love if everybody can please come and support if you're here. This is near and dear to my heart. This was birthed from our marriage ministry. What happened was with our marriage ministry last year when we were doing a workshop, I came across quite a few people who wanted to participate in the workshop, but they were not able to because, sometimes you can be a couple with someone, but only one person want to do it, right? And so if it's a couple thing, it's like, well, I can't be a part. Well, it got me to thinking after the question came, well, do you do anything for singles? All right. And so singles meaning I'm single in a relationship. Single mean I used to be in a relationship. Single meaning, I was in a long-term relationship and you could have lost the person to, death. You could have lost the person to incarceration. Whatever it is that is just for anyone who has ever felt for whatever reason stranded. And I think that is going to be a really good. We're going to talk about grief. We're going to talk about communication. We're going to talk about how not to feel alone, even when you feel stranded. And so I'm looking forward to it. I pray that you will pray with me through this. I'm super excited about it. The cost of it is $99. But is on sale. It's going to be $65 until September 23rd. After that, the price it just goes up. It's $99. I'm trying to get people to come to it. We will feed you. Okay, you will get a lot of good nuggets. Plus, we have an activity that we're going to do that I'm really excited about. And a hint of the activity is actually on the flyer. But I'm really excited. I want to bring people together. It is my, that's just what my that's just something that motivates me. It's something that I believe in, is actually bringing people together. And so I do ask that if you can please support by coming out. If you can please share it, because I would like to see at least 40 women. That I, that's a lot, but also not a lot at the same time, but at least 40 women there, because I believe that it's good, and I believe that the Lord is going to be moving, and it's just something that I want to see. And I don't want to do everything on Zoom all the time. I do want to bring people in the room for fellowship, for connection. For those who are not here in Maryland, I will definitely have it recorded or something like that. We might see if we can stream it. I'm not sure yet, but even if I can't stream it, I don't want that part to stop us from actually doing it. So that is I'm asking. I'm sincerely asking, and I don't ask for a lot. I really don't, but I am asking because I don't know a lot of people. I'm not from here, and I got to start with the people I know. But ultimately, I pray to get to a place where once I put these things out, I don't have to beg of the people, that I know, and wear them down with the things that I have going on. But I am asking, if you can support, please support. It would really mean a lot to me to at least get it going. Yes, I'm going to send a flyer out. The flyers are going to be sent tomorrow. I'm also going to put it on Eventbrite, and then I will be sharing it on social media as well. So please feel free to share it. If you have any more questions, if anybody's asking you, and even if you don't know a whole lot, just say, be like, no, I don't want to put myself in that category, but just like, I know Nicole, it should be good. Right? And so, I trust God. I trust God that it will be good. And I trust God genuinely that it will be good. And so I am asking for anybody's support, everybody's support. Any questions?
No, I definitely am. I'm going to share for sure. I'm already sitting here thinking about sharing it with my whole entire school. Just because we talk about mental health of the kids a lot. And I asked a question in PD, and I was like, well, where do the adults go when they need mental health? And nobody had an answer for me. It was very much, well, admin's door is always open. And I'm like, they are bosses. Who wants to go to the principal and talk about mental health? Yeah. So I'm definitely, like you said, when you send a flyer and kind of like so that way I can at least have some type of like thing to send, definitely sending it to the whole school. And I know they're gonna be talking about me, but it's all good.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm happy that you brought that up, because the place where we're having it, it's actually it's a learning development center. It's a child care center, right? And at first, because I was gonna have it at the church, and then I was like, I want to think bigger. So I wanted a bigger space. That's number one. And then number two, when I went to go look at the space, the room where we were going to have it, and it's like colorful and all this other stuff, and the name is Learning How. And so I spoke with the owner of the development center, and I said, I want to do a series. And it made me think about, I want us to get back to that place where nobody taught us how to be adults. Nobody taught us how to deal with certain things. Nobody told us how to be in a relationship. And then when things change in a relationship, how to navigate that. No one taught us how to be parents. No one taught us how to navigate, as you said, mental health. No one has really taught us these things. And so to be in a place called Learning How, yes, we're going to be learning how as adults. Okay, we are going to go back to that place. We are going to be creative. We are going to get back to the place where we ask questions, where we share, where we take our time out just to say, I don't know how to navigate, or I did not know how to navigate this. And for those of us who may have survived certain things, to say, I have been here, and this is what may have work for me, but just opening our minds to something different, the same way we do here in Bible study, where we'll say, well, I never heard it from that perspective, or you just gave me something to think about, or I need to go back and revisit this. And so when we find ourselves in those positions where we feel stranded, whatever that might look like for you, we'll have some tools that we could take with us. And I'm hoping to build the momentum. This was initially going to be a retreat. I'm starting it out as the workshop, and hopefully we can build up more momentum for a retreat so we can get and have a whole weekend of this, a getaway, some self-care, incorporate some other things that people say, but really just so that we as adults could just learn how to do some of the things that adults have to do. So I see Lisa putting smiley faces. So for those, I didn't mean to be on this long. I'm actually going to stop the recording.